Hello, welcome to Systemize Your Success. Today, I'm joined by Neil Rogers. He's the co-founder of Positive Activity, where his 11-step process for sales and business development. He focuses on mindset training and coaching for personal and professional development. He's also the author of a cool book called Bar Tips: Everything I Needed to Know in Sales, I Learned Behind the Bar, where he shares his secrets and knowledge and expertise from 37 years in sales. So the question is this: how do entrepreneurs like us who don't have an endless supply of cash, how do we leverage the best apps, virtual assistants, automation tools and systems to scale our businesses, increase our profits and have more time to do what we love to do each day? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answer. My name is Dr. Steve Day and this is Systemize Your Success. So I'm absolutely excited to speak to you today. I'm looking forward to chatting and finding out more about your history, about the book, obviously, and to hopefully learn a lot about sales from you. So welcome to the show, Neil.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate you. Let's get on the common sense train here. Let's go.
All right, fantastic. So I'm sure you probably get asked this question a lot with regards to your book and your experience in working behind a bar. But how has that influenced your work you do now? Because it seems in some ways a less than direct path, and in some other ways I can think be an obvious training for becoming a professional sales person. But tell us your story. How did you get to where you are now, and what were the influences along the way from your bar career?
Yeah, well, it certainly was a staggered story, trying to figure out my way out of moving on to my next step in life. And it just so happens that I learned that taking care of people and serving them was my calling, if you will, because when I was floundering in school trying to figure out what my next step was going to be, I was in hospitality doing washing dishes, busboy, and that type of stuff through high school and then into college. And then I started bar backing. And then I looked at the bartenders. I said, that looks pretty cool. I want to try that, which was the only criteria for me doing it, you know? So, but yeah, so, it's the simple things, the little things that I learned that and just being around people and learning people and everything that came from the book really was in retrospect, right? It was done during, what, and I won't say the word, right? Because we're all still
The C word.
PTSD over that. And so it was, something to keep myself sane. And I just recognized a short time earlier that, I really had been in the hospitality business or tending bar on the road for 30 plus years because they said, it's all kind of the same stuff. And then I just started thinking about it and what it's important when you first meet somebody, it's how you greet them. What is more important than when you walk into a restaurant or a bar or a pub or whatever you want to call them, especially over in your world? You want to be greeted properly. And then, oh, by the way, the next thing, you'd like to be heard. Can I sit by the window? I'd like a seat at the bar. So you want to be heard. So we need the other side to be listening. So as bartenders, as service people, we need to be listening. So that's chapter 1. There it is, all wrapped up. Oh, and I show up on time. Does that matter? Sure does. Should be on work on time because you owe that to your employer and you owe it to the team of other people in the bar or the restaurant because they have to carry your weight if you're late or somebody has to stay longer. Right? So it's just about respect for people's time. So if you're meeting a customer and you want to monopolize their day, you really should be cognizant of what time constraints you have. And oh, by the way, did you show up on time? Being the golden rule. Of course, the rule is 15 minutes early. I hope all your audience knows that. So you don't. So those are the simple. So yeah, I could go right down the list. Organization. The most organized wins is one of my chapters. Product knowledge, of course. Why shouldn't you know your products inside and out? But you might not know them all. You might not know. It might have been a new product. Do you want to try to fake it till you make it and answer the question poorly? Or do you say, you know what? I haven't quite picked that up yet. Can I get back to you on that? and then come back as a professional. Attitude, aptitude, appearance. I'm big on at least going to the level of what your industry's at, and maybe going a little bit further. We went to a wedding Friday. Wedding was Friday night. The rehearsal gig party was Friday night, and it was at a brew pub. I decided to wear a jacket. I thought the bride deserved a jacket. There was nobody else in a jacket, but I woke up the next day going, I'm really glad I wore my jacket. You know, I threw the jacket on, I threw the Rolex on. I said she deserved both. So simple things, it's not, there's no complex marketing theory in what we're talking about, in the book. It's, some things like peripheral knowledge. What do you know? So peripheral knowledge in the restaurant, a bar business, or in the hospitality business, let's call it, is the doorman who knows where the best steak is in town. He can guide you, right? What do you know outside of your business that can help your clients? You don't carry that line, or you don't provide that service. Maybe you know who does. Maybe you started a mastermind group with somebody who's a whiz bang accountant, and referrals go off, and then referrals come back. Isn't that a great thing, right? So one of the best ones I suggest is to everybody out there that's listening is just take some ownership and some humility. Start here first. What was my role in this? How could I have done better? Those types of things disarm everything. So now you're not getting in a beef with the customer. And if you'd like a quick little bar story on that, I'll give you one real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
Dennis Mayer, too smart to be working with us. This is now 100 years ago. This is 40 plus years ago. A woman comes up to the bar and orders a vodka martini, straight up. So Dennis pours it like he always does. He wanted it straight up. So he iced down the glass professionally, strained the vodka over ice, poured it into the glass, put a lemon twist on there, gave it to the woman. She goes, that's not dry enough. So Dennis walks past me and he says, I've been doing this 15 years. I haven't put a drop of vermouth in a martini yet. So what does he do? He pours the drink again so that she can see it, not in her face, and does the whole routine again, puts down the drink in front of her. That's the one. Same drink. Now, what did we learn here? He didn't do anything wrong. He could have told her the same story he told me. But then they're into it. And there's other customers. Let's see how this plays out. And now you're in that kind of contentious gig. The place, and you know what? More than likely, Dennis, being the conscientious guy he was, he probably saved the vodka and put it into another drink. So nobody lost anything in terms of pouring costs or anything like that. But everybody had a better experience, and nobody was the wiser. So being right, gang out there, it's overrated.
Cool. Like that. I think there's as many occasions I can think, and hopefully they are far fewer now in recent times than when I first started, of where you end up in, like you said, you end up in a debate with a potential client over a point. And in hindsight, you look back and think, why did I go there? What was the benefit? Who won? Definitely
Right.
not me. Definitely not me, because they're not a client of mine now, and
That's right.
and
Exactly.
they didn't benefit either because they're not getting the help they needed. And so it's just having that ability to, which I'm sure as a bartender you must have a ton of experience of dealing with people's different opinions. They may not be right, they might not be wrong, they might be in your opinion, but actually it doesn't really matter.
I mean, yeah. Thankfully, most of the places I worked at were so high volume. You really didn't get to play the whole bartender thing a lot, and it was my favorite thing to do because I was pretty good at it, and I had very quick hands, so I always worked the busy nights. And but when I got to work an occasional Saturday afternoon or fill in somebody on a or do a double on a Friday or something like that, where you could actually sit and talk to the people and tell them about Boston and where they should go and what might be interesting, what they
I've
might
got
like
I've
to do.
got I've got visions of Cheers now coming on.
Yeah, well, there's well, Cheers actually was a really cool bar. It was called the Bull and Finch Pub. And it's just, and it's still the Bull and Finch Pub with just the Cheers sign out front and all
Of
this stuff.
course.
And I guess it's still going. I didn't realize we were by there about a month ago, and it's still, I get the line out the door, and but Norm and Cliff aren't walking in the door. So
Cool. Okay, enough about Cheers. Um, Brilliant. Tell us a bit more about what you do, or I guess about obviously you give us some insights into your method and the tips or the process, sorry, in your introduction. But you've got something called the positive activity process, 11-step process, and how like people listen to this, like what are the big takeaways? Like what is it overarching? But like if I wanted to walk away from this show and think, right, that show was worth listening to. Neil knows his stuff. I have just learned something that's going to actually, I'm going to implement it tomorrow. The next phone call I get on, and it's going to make a difference. What would that tip be, and how does that fit into your bigger process?
take 5 minutes every day.
We're holding up a red book for those listening on the
It's
podcast
a
here.
it's a it's a listening podcast.
A bit of
So
both, yeah.
it is a journal book. And I'll read you my journal entries this morning. So what we do is, the first thing we do is we do a little bit of an appreciation practice. I think a lot of people call it gratitude. We like appreciate because what you appreciate appreciates. Kind of one of my wife's terms, wife's little ditties.
I like that.
So I actually spoke on this topic last night for our for a for the school my son goes to, and my son is a 33-year-old man with autism. And you want to talk about people that need to get their mindset right. These people, they're doing God's work. So you write three things that I appreciated last night. Was a great night speaking at the Nashua Center. Then my wife took me out to dinner, and then I had a fantastic workout and treatment with my PT yesterday to take care of my shoulder. Nothing earth shattering there, just three things that came to mind. But then I said, then I do an intentional recall where I take one of those things and I expound on it. By the way, this is not new stuff. I mean, some of your listeners are probably doing some of this or some piece of it. If I can encourage them to do it more, I always say I want to be 750 over here in the States in at Major League Baseball. If you bat 300, you get into the Hall of Fame. I want to bat 750 on this. So I give myself some grace. Some days I look down and say, you haven't journaled in 3 days. So just get right back at it. I know this to be true, though, that when I do it, I feel a heck of a lot better than when I don't, if that's a good share. So here's the intention. So you want to relive it. So I sat here, 15 minutes ago. I wrote down, it was fantastic delivering the speech on what will be our next book. So essentially, the title of the speech and of the new book will be navigating the special needs world with positivity and creativity.
I like that.
And that's what I put into and then I commit to some form of meditation. Don't anybody get spooked on that. Could be, I think my wife does 5 minutes. I did 20 this morning on this non-sleep deep rest. I do a respirate, which is good for my blood pressure. And then I commit to movement. Right after this, I've got my sweatshirt on. I've got Pilates. So that'll be an hour in sweat there. And then I'll do some sort of reach out, a random act of kindness. So that sets up my day in a positive direction, even if I've woken up on the wrong side of the bed. And having grown up the way I did, which was in a negative Irish Catholic family, I've been chipping away at that for 60 plus years. So, and then I write I am statements. I am a speaker. I am a writer. I'm a musician. I'm a mentor. I am positive. I'm creative. I am productive. That's our ditty that goes with positive activity. And then I am enough and I have enough. And if anybody knows the 4 agreements, I repeat the 4 agreements to myself every day. Is I will be impeccable with my words. I won't make assumptions. I won't take things personally. And I will always do my best. Then I can start my day. So I think it's all in how you start it, and if you got a good frame of mind, now I'm in creative mode. That's, you get that positivity. Now you're seeing solutions, as opposed to, oh my goodness, how am I ever going to get this done? Or, is this order going to come my way today? So that's really how we kick off the day. And that's exactly how I kicked off the meeting last night. And I told them straight up. I asked them, who who considers themselves a positive person? I don't know. I would say 75% of raised their hands. Then I asked them the four agreements questions. I said, do you involve yourself in negative self-talk or negative talk about others? Do you take things personally only to find, and without consideration of someone else? Do you make assumptions only to find out that you were wrong and had gone down a negative path? And whenever you do those three things, does your performance suffer, whether at home or at the workplace? And then, of course, we circle back at the end of the talk and brought up the four agreements. I said, do those things ring a bell? And so they all, oh yeah. They're like, so they internalized, they got it, but that doesn't. And that's where I confessed that I fall prey to all of those. It is precisely why, gang out there, I write them down every day, because I wrote the book because I want to remember all those things. I do this every day because I want to remember those things. I talk to Steve Day because I want to remember those things. And that's what we do. So repetitive nature of these things is, I already went down and played my two pieces I got to play at my recital next week, this morning at 7:30. So I had to bang that out, just make sure I get that chord progression right, the vocals okay. And so that's it. If you walk away with and so that's in the positive activity process. And then, so now you're in productive mode. Because you're in the creative, you're in solution providing mode. You've gone to creative. Now you can set up your steps of what you're going to do. As an example, seeing as I'm talking about music. So I've been playing the piano kind of sort of my whole life, and I've been singing kind of sort of my whole life. But again, another one of those projects I did during what, and I'm not going to say the word to keep myself from losing my mind. I started taking vocal. I started first taking it over Zoom, now in person with this woman. And she knew that I had played the piano a little. And she goes, you really need to play and sing. I said, all right, how am I going to do that? I've never done that before. So she taught me, you're going to do these things every day. You're going to invert the chords up and down the piano, blah, 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 blah. And you're going to play the chord in your right hand and the root in your left. Okay, great. And so I put together a 90-day plan, just as I prescribe everybody else do in a positive activity program. And 90 days later, I was playing and singing on stage. Am I opening up at the Carlisle in New York? No. But for my own personal satisfaction, I completed a task. I followed my own process. I ate my own dog food, as one guy used to always say to me, and it worked. And what we do with that is that when you get in business, we prescribe business development practices, which are simple. It all revolves around the 7-touch theory, but all about defining about who can buy what you sell. Have you got a benefit statement? Can you say it on one sheet? Do you have do you have lists of people that, I know this is kind of antiquated, but I still use spreadsheets, because in the world we don't need, if we got 10 new clients in 1 year, that's a lot for us. We don't need 400. So CRMs and all that stuff is lost on us. But do you have lists of the people that the people that you meet, the people and then lists of people that you buy? Now, the first two is what you want to stay with, right? People the people you meet. That's through referrals. That's through, casual contact at a chamber event, a business event, a pool party, wherever, that you kind of like launched a little bit into your elevator pitch or your 30-second commercial, and somebody, oh, that's interesting. Well, don't think because they found you interesting with 3 beers in them that they're going to be waiting for your phone call with bated breath on Monday morning. You have to professionally put them into some form of a campaign that's going to systematically market to them. And because our primary business is in the promotional business, we use a lot of mail and UPS. It's getting expensive, but we still do it because we feel it's the most effective and direct way to cut through all that noise out there in social media and YouTube videos and all that. We do that stuff. I mean, if we link in together, you're going to see all my videos I do, and they're quick blurbs, but they're always associated with the blog. And some have written work, and it's done, I think, pretty well in to getting the point across quickly. Because nobody's reading a missive. We all know that, right? So that's kind of the whole process. And we say if you start that process and you do your mindful behavior stuff, you get into creative solution mode, and now you're not as apt to, oh my God, what if I don't get that deal? It's not going to be, you know what? There's plenty out there. Keep going. You're not going to bat 1,000. Nobody bats 1,000, gang. So get out there, stay after it, but keep with your system and your process. And if you want to, and our process is on positiveactivity.net. And so when you look up 90 days later, you won't believe where you came from. It's really that stark.
Yeah, I mean, doing anything for 90 days consecutively, whether it's going to the gym or eating healthily or not drinking or anything, it's like 90 days is a long time. And so if you apply the same principles to business, I mean, I know some of the stuff, the biggest leaps in my business, whether it's to do with systems or to do with client acquisition effort, they've not taken 90 days. And if I kept them up for 90 days, they probably would have made a much bigger impact. But yeah, totally. I think one of the other thing that, just to pick up on something you were talking about then, was you mentioned a couple of things, which is A, consistency, so doing it over a long period of time, and B, the direct mail thing as well with sales. And I've got one of my longest standing clients, like he's been with me for nearly 5 years now, a guy called Georges. And he, about 2 and a bit years ago, he started doing handwritten mail campaigns. He's a prime London estate agent. And so he's writing out to people in the areas that he serves, saying, I guess, like, are you looking to sell your house? And he does, I think, 300 or 400 letters now every single month. And it's taken him 2 years of that consistency of developing the systems, of getting it right, of getting it wrong. Of he's now got a robot that writes the envelopes for him in his office, and all this stuff. That's like over 2 years he's developed this. But it starts off with him and his team like handwriting stuff.
Sure.
Now it's bringing in, big numbers because he's just kept at it and just pushed it and pushed it and pushed it. And it's that sort of like just stubborn perseverance that, obviously you've got to do it, you got to look at the numbers as well, but he obviously saw something positive and kept going at it. And that's it. Simple stuff. But just done repetitively, consistently, persistently, and professionally. So yeah, 100%.
So you know what the term R&D means, Steve?
I know what it could mean, but tell me what you think it means.
I'm going to give you one here. It's called rip off and duplicate.
Yeah, there you go.
So we don't call that persistence. We call that tenacity. Persistence sounds like pest for a reason. Your guy he's put a drop or two of creativity in there. And that makes it tenacious. He's done something different. A telemarketer is persistent. Nike is tenacious. There's always something new. Apple is tenacious. They're coming up with new this, new that, new way of doing whatever, better camera, all that stuff. Every time there's something that puts lines outdoors to buy the new one. But I just got rid of. I just changed my 8 to 14 3 months ago. So I'm a slow adopter on that stuff. But yeah, that's what you're talking about. And they take a little bit more time. But I mean, a handwritten envelope is definitely going to get opened long before a computer generated one. Just is what it is, or what we call lumpy mail, where you throw a
Yeah, chucking a pen.
80 cent pen in there.
Yeah.
I don't know what that converts to pounds.
Charities.
With a QR code on it, which will take them to their link tree, and all their socials and their website and all that stuff. And that's what happens in this guy right here.
That's a great idea.
This one actually, the way that we have this one set up, this is one of our clients. This goes to a merch bot. So
What's
they
a
start
match?
asking questions right
Oh,
away.
okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So,
Oh, that's a great idea. Oh, I like that. And who's not going to eventually, if they've got the pen in their pocket and the phone in their hand, at some point they're going to go on, let's just see where it goes.
exactly.
Yeah. For anyone listening, Neil was holding up. It's very basically just a standard clickable biro with a ballpoint pen with a QR code written on the side. That's what we were discussing.
yeah.
So you're
So
going to say, Neil?
no, that's I think I monopolized long enough. What else do we have? What do we
Oh,
need?
cool. Yeah. So we were talking, obviously, we're touching on sales here, which is a big part of your experience and knowledge and expertise. And I love a bit of systems. And one thing that I know to be true is the more systemized anything is, the better it is. So I'm absolutely convinced that you must have some useful systems in your sales process that you would be able to share that would provide insights and value to listeners.
Oh, that was it.
That was
That
it.
positive activity process is it.
Yeah.
That is, we're doing that all the time in some form of fashion.
So tell me if I'm a lonely not self lonely small business owner, I'm shy on the phone. I know that I need to pick up the phone more or actually speak to people. Like other than doing the prep in the morning, the positive attitude, etc., etc. Like what are the top tips for making those sales calls or closing calls, whichever you prefer talking about? Like what are the big tips maybe you've learned from working in the bar or from just your experience in sales? Like the big hurdles or barriers that your clients often experience that when you've given them, a tip or something, they've got this big sort of boost forward in their ability to actually close the deal.
Well, I think well, first of all, I think you need to be everywhere. If you're starting new, in your small business company, whatnot, you need to be everywhere. You need to join. I mean, I don't mean, I'm not so sure it's the BNIs of the world and that type of thing. I'm not completely sold on them. Just your own natural uh, ability to connect with people. And quite frankly, if you're going into business and you can't do that, you may want to consider something else. You know what I mean? I don't want to, it's miss the positivity here. It might be heading down a bad road here, but or have somebody in your if you're the tech person and you've got the whiz bang tech, somewhere along the line you're going to need the person that can go out and pitch what you do. But if you can combine both, or at least learn to do both, and the best way to do that is, I believe, is in person. So show up everywhere, show up at counters, lunch counters, show up in wherever people gather, and don't be over salesy, but make some sort of contact with them. Get some sort of relationship going. Otherwise, you're flying blind and spraying and praying is what we call. You know, nobody. You know, the I have a guy that dials for me, right? And he's having a whale of a time now. Nobody answers the phone. There's no, so you have to do something. In my view, I would suggest, because I don't want to do a have to or a should, I would suggest that you do something to soften up the beachhead. That if you know who you might want to target because you've defined who it is can buy what you sell, right? Because we have to know what do they call it in today's parlance, the avatar is. I just call it an ideal prospect or client. Well, then send them information and then send it to them again. And then you can start leaving them good voicemail. If you can get an email somehow off their website, then passively do that. But again, be tenacious. Don't be a pest. Be persistent. Be tenacious. So that's and then you get a shot at somebody taking your call or calling you back or emailing you back. I don't think there's a magic formula. I mean, I don't know when I get a call from somebody or if I get a blind email from off of LinkedIn, and I go, who, and they use my middle initial, Dear Neil P. I mean, if you're not blatantly obvious what you just did by scraping LinkedIn and sending a mass email to, in the spray and pray mode, I want to just call you and say, does this really work? Does somebody actually buy in on this? I just can't imagine it happening.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
I think that's it. I mean, it all depends on what they're doing, right? It depends. I mean, so if they're in, I don't know, if they're in manufacturing, you go to the trade shows. If you're going to have to invest some time and some money to make these things happen. So if it's time and you're an independent person and you're trying to sell insurance or financial services or whatnot, you got to be everywhere because nobody wants to talk to you. Nobody wants to talk to the insurance guy. Nobody wants to talk to yet another financial plan. But if you if you're there at the right time, if you hit it at the right spot, someone is ticked off at their current person, he's not getting back to me in time, those types of things. When you're ubiquitous and you're around, and then you have that link in, and then guess what? If you clear that gig and you get this client and you over deliver, which is what we talk about a lot in the book, then you ask them for what? Do you know anybody else who could use my services? The simple referral ask. And that most people that are I mean, I know I am, but I'm in sales and all that. I am very quick to refer somebody that I've had a positive experience with, no question.
yes,
So,
same here.
so I mean, this. I just don't think this. It's one of those things. One of the things I watch a lot of YouTube, especially on the piano and voice and all that. A guy said this the other day. He finally came clean. He says, "There is no shortcut to learning how to play jazz piano. There is none. You're not going to learn it in 8 weeks. You're not going to. It's going to take you ultimately years, but you can make progress along the way. You'll sound better in 90, back to my 90-day thing. You'll sound better in 90 days than you did when you started, all that. I don't think I just don't think there's that magic bullet that it's the process. I think you have to be, if you're in small business, you're in business, you have to be out there. You have to be in touch with people. And then you have to do the all important follow up. I met a guy, I live here on a golf campus. We sold our family home years ago. And I went up and played music bingo at the pub up the street Thursday night. And we were heading out to a wedding on Friday. And so I've met this guy before, him and his wife, and they live on campus, but I knew they were temporary at one point. So, oh, you guys are still here? Yeah, yeah. And then, of course, in my notes, in my phone, to get their names. I already had them in there. I had to discreetly go through and see what their names were. But he caught me. He said, "What is it you do?" I said, "Well, I'm in sales." He goes, "I can tell." Right? I didn't do it slick wise. I was just kind of trying to do it discreetly. I guess I got to practice on my discreet look. He said, I said, "What?" He says, "What do you do?" I said, "Well, I'm in the swag business." "Really? Like corporate logos?" "Yeah." "I'm the guy you need to talk to." "Okay, great. What is it you need?" But so I did a couple, talked about a few things. I want to get luggage for my guys. Okay, great. We're going to do this. All right, great. Well, I had a kit, my promo kit put together. I had my assistant put together a presentation. And within 12 hours, he had 18 hours, because it was 6 o'clock the night before. I didn't get, it was, right before I left. I dropped off his promo kit at his door, and on his laptop was his presentation. Now, I don't have no idea if he's gonna buy from me. I do know this: he was impressed with my service.
And also, I can imagine you can walk away from that situation, and even if he doesn't buy, you can go, you know what? I did my best at actually making
That's
that
it.
happen. Yeah.
That's it.
Because
Perfect. Yeah.
because the number of times, I mean, I will be the first to admit that like I'm sure many people in business could be more persistent or more tenacious, for your
Yeah.
words.
There you go.
We're more tenacious with marketing, with sales, etc. And I've done coaching, and I'm miles better than I used to be, but there's still massive room for improvement. But I know what I regret. it over the years. And still, when it happens now, is I regret it when I walk away from something, from a sales conversation, from a, a marketing launch, whatever. And I just feel like, you know what, I could have actually done that better. I could have put more prep into it. I could have just gone that little extra mile. I could have just picked up the phone or sent that message. And you never know, like, will that be the one message that just someone goes, you talked about timing before. You never know when that message is going to arrive. And you gave some good examples. And just to sort of like emphasize that from a personal experience from me. So back in the day, I used to change my mobile phone provider pretty much every 12 months or 18 months, whatever the contract went out, go for the best deal. And so it just so happened that literally it was the month or whatever the week that my phone contract was changing. And I got a phone call from Vodafone, apparently, probably someone acting as they were from Vodafone, whatever, it doesn't matter. And I just like, that's great. What phone have you got? Right, fine. Yeah, send it to me. Done. It took them about 10 minutes, closed me because it was the moment. It wasn't him, they or
Right.
her. It was nothing to do with their sales ability. It was just that the thing they had is what I needed, and I could not be bothered doing any work to find it. And so I just said, yeah, you just send it to me. That was probably 18 years ago. I still have Vodafone. So that salesperson has made, from that one random phone call, which I was probably one of 200 calls that day.
Right.
Most of them, like you say, didn't answer, but I was one that did. And actually, if they probably aren't on commission for life, but if they were, that would be a nice little earner for them. So,
Sure.
you just, you never know. And I know with me as well, you've sparked off so many things as you've been talking. I didn't want to interrupt, but one of the most surprising things I always find is that you can go out there and reach out. And I'm terrible at doing outreach on a with intention. I do a lot of sharing of marketing, as in sort of value content, but I don't ask enough for, like, actually look or tell people this is what I do. This is how I can help you. Come and ask me if you need more information. Like, that's what I could do more of. And the times I do it, or I have some sort of call to action, I'm always surprised that I speak to whoever number of people I speak to, and half of them end up buying a product that I'm not even talking about in the email, but it's actually what they need, and it's maybe a much higher level product than actually what I was even intending on selling. So just by actually being tenacious again, getting yourself out there, reminding people you exist, and actually then being receptive to them and doing all the things you said before, listening to them, empathizing with them, all those things is, and listening to like what they actually need, not trying to sell them what you want to sell them. It's like, hey, what do you actually need? Listening, and this is all skills that I've learned from years of doing it. That's what it's all about, and that's what I hear you saying. So I'm just like almost just trying to, not almost. I'm just saying that I'm hearing what you're saying, and I just think I can see so many examples of that, of what you're saying being true. And the positive change that I've had over the years have come from doing these little things that you're talking about. And as I'm sat here thinking I should do a lot more of it. So
Have you ever heard of Jim Rohn?
I have at a gym room.
So Jim Rohn, as you probably know, if you know him, was the mentor to Tony Robbins. And by the way, that's all that Tony's ever sold. And he sold Tony Robbins. He wasn't in every other in and out of every kitchen in Boston, in and out of every sporting goods store and shoe store and bookstore in New England, and in and out of as many corporate clients as I could find in the last. But he's Tony Robbins, right? So Jim Rohn says, this is a great quote. It says, "Success is neither magical or mysterious. Success is the natural consequence of consistently applying the basic fundamentals, the little things." Right? And of course, Jim, he developed that, right? That was his idea. Maybe he read Dale Carnegie. Maybe he read Napoleon Hill. So they started it, right? Maybe they read Francis Scoville Shin or Charles Handel in 1912. So they started it. Maybe they were believers in Stoicism, which started in 300. Stuff's been going on forever.
I'm sure you'll find a couple of passages in the Bible that relate to that as well. So,
Absolutely, you know that.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, so it's yeah, somebody said that to me last night. At the end, and it was interesting. I didn't know if the audience was getting it. Because it was kind of stoic. I had a couple of zingers in there, so I got a little rise a couple of times, but then I just realized they were intently listening, and they came out and they went, you've got me jazzed up. And it wasn't fire and brimstone. I'm not a fire and brimstone guy or a speaker. It was just, here's what we do. Here's the reasons why we do it. We do it consistently. This is what, and these are the results that we got. And we did it through positivity and creativity, which equals a little bit of tenacity. So there you go.
I like it. With that, I think I'm going to follow up with a question about you, your future, and what are your upcoming projects? You mentioned your book on the horizon. Is there anything else new, interesting, exciting in your world coming up?
So yes, we're doing a lot more speaking. We want to be. I'm doing a lot of hours. So this is something I just recently did. This isn't like real exciting, but it's consistent with what I'm saying. Is that I just recently. I'm 40 years out of college. I decided to hook up with my alumni association just to meet more people, because I recognize, especially in the way business is done today, like this, a lot of it's like this, phone and whatnot. Sure, it's opened up more area to do business in, but it's not the type of business I want to do. I actually got what in New England you need to be tip certified to pour beer, to pour liquor. I got tip certified because I didn't want to go on somebody's roster. I wanted to be on their roster, on their call roster. I'll be a sub guy because I want to be able to say no. I don't need the money. I want to do it. I want to do it for the one-on-one. So, but yeah, so I went to a community college. So I signed up for their association, and then I'm meeting the head of the association at my 4-year college the day before Thanksgiving. I'm going out and getting a tour and whatnot. Now I know what he's looking for. He's looking for a donation. I'm going to look at him straight in the face. I'm a reasonable donator, but I would rather mentor somebody for free. I mean, I'm not looking to, obviously I'd say, you find, and I'll tell them about how I've mentored young men, in the past that have got my story, which was a little rocky start to get through college and figure all that out and where I was going to go. And in the end, we have a nice life. I was just, I was thinking about it's like it's like, most people are talking about, they got the big boat and the Ferrari, and they want to give you I want to show you no mortgage and no car payment, upper middle class, right? Let's shoot for that, as opposed to trying to get the house on the water right out of the gate, especially where every house on the water down in any area around here is $10 million. So yeah, so that's what's up. And we're going to continue on with our swag business. We love it. We do it well. We've got people that help us now, so it's not as
Is that based just in the US, or is it worldwide?
We can do worldwide.
Yeah.
But primarily, to be frank, anybody.
I guess postage and things make it more challenging.
Yeah. It's crazy now. It's So it's but yeah. So that, and I believe, and I just got to get Lori charged up about it too. I think she is. Based on what response we got last night, and the new book will help a lot of families in the same situation we've been in, because it's a challenge to I mean, God bless you don't have any problems with your kids, but when something's messed up with your kid, your game's off all around. So it's the divorce rate is a lot higher. All those things come into play, and if we all just get our mind settled, get in the mindset, look for those incremental changes in them, and then also get involved as much as you can to be part of the solution and not just be the problem. And that's what we've done. And we developed the first of it. We developed, I don't know if it was this first of the kind that I knew, parent organization exclusively for kind of the parent teacher organization for special needs. We did that for 18 years. And then we started the first of its kind intensive needs classroom in a local community college. And then we discovered all sorts of other stuff that has helped. Not only, I mean, that program at the community college is, in the last 12 years, has serviced over 300 kids.
Fantastic.
Just from some notion I had. And then I partnered with a health and human service organization. They do all the programming. We didn't do that, but the sales guys the business guy was the guy that put the initial part of the deal together, where I actually did my sales thing. I pick up the phone, called the president of the college. I knew her assistant, as luck would have it. Sure, Neil, I can get you in to see her. Had the meeting. Neil, here's a classroom for you, free of charge. I handed it off to those people, and they've been there 12 years.
Ah, cool.
So man's got to know his limitations.
Oh, indeed, especially in business. It's a never-ending chore. So you have to know exactly when you need to stop. So yeah, 100%. Cool, Neil.
All right, Steve.
I'm going to draw this to a close, but I want to ask you a couple of things first. First of all, how can people get hold of you, find out more about you, remind us what your book's called, and anything else you want to share about people getting in contact?
So you can see me and Lori at positiveactivity.net is where you'll see all our programs, our philosophy. There you can sign up for our Nourishing News newsletter, which is not spam, usually a cool little tip. A lot of cool, simple things we talked about today come up in there, and I give little stories or a quick little video to get it started. And then, if you want to read the whole thing, have at it. But it's usually done in bullet point format and that type of thing. And then you can email me at Neil with an IEI at positiveactivity.net. And then in all of our socials are on that site.
Cool. And we'll put everything in the show notes, obviously, as well. Before you go, Neil, I do have some signature questions that I ask everyone that comes on the show.
Fire away.
The first one's going to be the most interesting one because I know, having spoken to you just before we came on, you're not the biggest user of technology. You have a notepad and book in front of you, which I absolutely love. And I was just actually saying, to be honest, with all my love of technology, absolute tech geek, I still have a post-it notepad next to my desk. So, everyone's their own. But my question is, do you have any favorite apps or plugins for your browser or maybe your phone that you could not live without?
Perplexity.
Tell us, what is that?
It's an AI search engine.
Oh,
I use it all day, every day. It knows everything.
Yeah. Fantastic. I have heard of it, but I'm a ChatGPT at the moment. So
I have ChatGPT on my. Oh yes, I can't live without ChatGPT. I've got Pro.
Yeah, same.
I wrote a song on ChatGPT Pro.
I tell you what, I've loved, just going off, not off topic, but a bit of a tangent. The other day I realized I could do voice on ChatGPT and it'll speak back to me. So in your car, in my car now, I was having this conversation. It was actually on the way home. My son was really poorly a few weeks ago, and he had some blood results, and I actually did medicine quite a long time ago, but I needed a refresher. And so I was just literally chatting to ChatGPT as if it was basically a consultant. And I was just going through the blood results and asking everything. But while I was driving on speakerphone, just literally having a conversation with it, it was quite amazing. And it is, you can get to select the language, the accent and everything. So I had this sort of down to earth northerner from Northern England just chatting to me. Like, it was just mind blowing. So yeah, anyway, really cool. Okay, thank you. Good tip. Okay, second question. Who else do you think would be a great guest on this podcast?
Oh, my wife.
Great. Put me in touch. And lastly, sorry, not secondly, we're on the last one now.
I'll give you two. I'll give you Chris Mader and my wife.
Okay. We'll reach out. Thank you very much. And lastly, the title of this podcast is Systemize Your Success. But what does success mean to you?
Oh, it's all encompassing. I watch my diet. It's physical, it's mental, it's financial, it's emotional, tapping into all those things. I feel like, and one of the things I write in here, I say, I am enough. I have enough. And that's what success is to me. Do I live on the water in Duxbury? No. I have a nice life. Very nice life. I don't want for anything. We want to do something, we can do it. But I won't tell you listeners, like, now, should I have worked in a Fidelity or something like that? Could I have different financial circumstances? Sure, probably. I never would have made it. It just wasn't my gig. I needed to be on my own. So that's success. It's all encompassing.
I like it. I like it a lot. Neil, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much for coming on the show today.
You're welcome, Steve. Thanks, buddy.
Cool.
Stay in touch.
Will do. Thank you.